Hi, this is Nash with Alphafy, and today I'm going to share Guardian's new PUA option. They now have two options. One is long-term performance option, the other is short-term performance option. Just some background, PUA contributions are what we maximize for these high cash value whole life designs because the money going into that portion of the policy generates immediate cash value, and you have access to that, and it also starts compounding year over year over year, generating historically greater long-term performance than the traditional options. So you get the benefit of the short-term and the long-term. But they now have two options, so you can actually select to prefer short-term PUA performance, so even higher cash values, and I've seen that this is normally in the first 10 years you get higher cash value, or long-term performance, which is essentially 10 years and longer. And the difference for the long term is pretty substantial, but some people really want access to that liquidity right away. So a good option to be aware of. The long-term performance is essentially the standard option. They don't actually call it long-term performance. That's what I call it. They just call it the traditional PUAs. So this is all in contrast to money going to base premium. So again, in these designs, we minimize the base premium of the whole life insurance, the costly expenses, maximize the PUAs. So now we have two options for PUAs. And just as a note, as we start talking about this, any new policy can take advantage of the short-term PUA option, and any policies issued in the last 4 months can take advantage of the short-term PUA option if you want to actually switch it over. So that was a quick overview. I'm going to dive right into a policy to show where you can actually see this difference. What we're looking at here is a 38-year-old female preferred plus 90-10 design, or actually even better for base premium to what's going into PUAs, making up a total of $100,000 going into the policy. And you can see the paid up additions here. It has STP. That's what stands for the short-term performance option. And if it was the long-term performance, that's what I call it, it would just say PUAs. So that's how you can see the difference. I'm going to dive right into the numbers here. So I have a normal or long-term performance option here on the left, and I have a short-term performance option on the right. And I've taken the numbers from running the designs and put them into Excel just so we can see them side by side. So this is the payment outlays comparison. You'll notice that the minimum payment, so again that base premium or 10%, is slightly different. And the reason is I bumped up the death benefit a little bit in the short-term performance option just so it can accommodate the same $1 million going in. I can of course bump up the death benefit of the long-term option, make them identical, but I just wanted to maximize the efficiency of each. The reason the short-term performance option needed slightly more death benefit is that you can see you have higher cash values here. And so once that starts compounding, it essentially takes up that mech space for you without having to contribute more dollars. And so you wouldn't have been able to put in exactly $1 million out here because you'd bump up to the mech limit. So I increased it just to show $1 million out in the most efficient way possible side by side. But we can make them identical if we wanted to. The target payment, $100,000 for 10 years. The cumulative outlay is identical on both. That's what I was just explaining with the modifications to make it so that same out of pocket with the most maximum efficiency design possible for each. So in the traditional design, basically 84% coming back to cash value in year one, both on the guaranteed and non-guaranteed side. And then you can see the growth here, and I've highlighted the break-even years for the guaranteed component and the dividend component. So basically between years 5 and 6, nearly in year 5, 500 out, 499.9 thousand in year 5, just about there. In the short-term performance option, however, you'll see that both the guaranteed values and the non-guaranteed values are better in the first 10 years. So basically in year 4 you put 100,000 in for 4 years. It's clearly breaking even here in year 4. So as compared to the other option, you have 402,000 in cash value versus 388. So clear break even, much better over here. And between years 6 and 7 on the guaranteed values. So before I move on, let's just calculate the difference over time. So we're going to take the dividend scale on the cash values. We're going to change this to a number. All right. Okay, so we have the difference here between the long-term performance and short-term performance. So the green here shows the cash value difference in each year that you have access to. And if it's green, the short-term performance option is better. So in this example, through year 12, it's a better option. So if you like having access and you want it now and you want to preference that, the short-term performance option will be better. But let's scroll down here. So the red here means that the long-term performance option is going to surpass the short-term performance option. And it gets pretty substantial. So at age 70 out here, again, this is a 38-year-old female, at age 70, it's getting up to almost $400,000 in difference in cash value. And you can actually see that the death benefit is also about $500,000 difference greater in the long-term performance option. So why is that? Why is it different? The difference is each of these PUA riders actually has what's called the PUA load. So when you put money into the PUAs, there's a difference. The PUA in the short-term performance option is essentially at 5%. The long-term performance is at 10%. What that load is paying for administration and fees and stuff like that. But more importantly, it gives them a greater guardian, a greater operating cash to go invest and generate longer term returns. So the longer term performance option, they're actually showing a higher potential for longer term returns, where the short term performance option, that reserve is less, and so they have less to invest, but they're giving you the benefit of the short term cash value and liquidity. So really interesting details. I did one more thing over here, which was do a trick where we can actually max out the one year max right here into PUAs. And what this does is essentially utilize the MEC space over a longer term funding period, not having to change the base premium or the minimum amount. So you're actually dumping a greater percentage into PUAs. So about 95% going into PUAs, 5% going into the base premium in year 1, where normally it's 90 and 10. And you can see here the cash value return in year 1 comes up to 91%. That's really, really, really good. And the break even is much even stronger. And you can see the cash value year over year growth is even stronger. So you can really get really, really high access to your money you're putting in with combining some of these options together, and they can be super powerful if short-term cash value and liquidity is your goal. So I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions or want to see anything else. For now, thanks and goodbye. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Also, you can learn more at alphacrusaders.com at the link at the end of this video.